Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Perspective Philosophy, where we try to better our perceptions of the world through philosophical discussion. So, in today's episode, I'm going to be discussing agnosticism with the one and only Darth Dawkins. So, I hope you're all ready for this, because I don't know if I am. I don't know how this is going to go, and I'm really interested to see how this will turn out. So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's see if he's ready. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. How you doing, mate?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. No worries. In case anyone's wondering, by the way, on the live stream, I'm very well aware that there's a green outline of me. I do my best to try and get rid of it. I just can't get rid of it. And I will, once I get the background sorted, it'll disappear. So I won't be using the green screen anymore.
I debate atheists on Discord, and sometimes I do good, and sometimes I do not good. One of the ones they got me on was they wanted me to put the precept argument into an argument form where you give like two premises and a conclusion. I didn't do it good.
Huh.
Okay, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Oh dear Lord. 1 second. Let's just make sure that. Do us a favor. Could you speak for us? Just so I can get your audio levels. Excuse me, mate. Could you do us a favor and just speak for us? Just for a second. Say hello. Say. Actually, he has a question for you before we start. Why are you called Darth Dawkins?
I used to call myself Duncan Dawkins with the floating head of Richard Dawkins and a hot cup of coffee. But I debated an atheist, and he was so disturbed by the debate, he said I was evil, and he called me Darth Dawkins. So I took it.
It just stuck. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. And why Dawkins? Is it just like a passing fancy for like Richard?
It was a caricature and a spoof on Richard Dawkins. Darth Dawkins is appropriate because I find atheists' lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. I like the Star Wars reference, man. Star Wars, everything is good. So I can definitely agree there. Welcome to the channel. It's the first time we've really had a proper discussion. We had like a much. Is there a bit of an echo? I can tell.
Not that I know.
I'll just. Hopefully that'll sort the problem out. Essentially the we had a very brief encounter once before, I think it was. So it was like, I think it was about a year ago, and it was about a 20-second interaction. So we didn't have a real conversation, nothing really substantial. So so I'm going to make the argument here that actually, here's the thing. I'm going to say that I am an agnostic, and I believe that I can be rationally agnostic of a tri-omni, an omnibenevolent, omniscient, omnipotent creator who is the creator and sustainer of the universe, and of all being, shall we say. I believe I could be agnostic about that. Do you have any issues with the way that I've defined God there, or anything like that?
No.
Okay, cool. I'm agnostic because I was actually raised Catholic. I was raised Catholic, but I'm agnostic because I believe that the existence of an absolute perfect being defies the capacity for understanding of a human, and we would have to attribute non-perfect characteristics to that being in order to create any justification for its existence. So in other words, I would have to be able to point towards the metaphysical reality of a god And being able to do so would mean I would have to conceptualize of that reality and understand it, which would diminish its perfection. So I'm taking something that is close to the akin of via negativa, of why we cannot know God. And in saying that, I believe from that point, if I cannot know God, then there is relevant falsehood from a Gettier position, and so there is no need to believe or disbelieve necessarily, and so both positions are equally as rational. So that's my position outlined.
Okay. Are you maintaining that you're neutral toward the existence of God?
I'm maintaining that it's not about a belief in the existence of God, but in the knowledge of God. I'm neutral towards the knowledge of God.
Are you neutral toward the existence that there is an ultimate creator God? Are you neutral toward that?
Am I neutral towards the existence of an ultimate creator God? I guess what I'm really saying is I don't believe that I can even know what that is to be positive or negative towards it.
So you're taking a position of theological non-cognitivism?
Theological. Could you outline what that is? I've never come across that term before. Sorry.
That's the belief that the invoking of God is unintelligible or meaningless.
As in like the concept of God.
Okay. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah, okay.
Do you believe that there is something that is fundamental and ultimate in reality that dictates what's possible and impossible?
1 second. Apparently there's a horrible echo coming through. Let us know, chat, if the echo has went away. Do I think that there is something in reality which makes it possible or impossible, as in like what dictates what can and cannot be? Let's think about that. I'm unsure as to whether I would say that there need be an ontological something ontologically that would explain the existence of opposite powers. So I could say, like, what I would really say is that something being and not being are possible without the existence of something which makes them be and not be. I don't think there necessarily need be a creator or sustainer of being and non-being itself.
So you don't believe that there's anything fundamental dictating all possibility and impossibility?
It's not that I don't believe; it's that I don't believe I can make a knowledge claim about something which is.
So you don't. I didn't ask you if you had a knowledge claim. I asked you, do you believe?
Are we defining belief as something that is like personal faith?
Do you believe that there is something in reality that is fundamental that institutes and dictates all possibility and impossibility?
Sorry, 1 second. Apparently, your voice is echoing really bad. Is it really bad? 1 second.
Not on the call, but on the YouTube live stream it is.
Really? Okay, 1 second then, mate. I wonder why. 1 second, I'll just have a look at me YouTube settings. Is there a reason that it's echoing through? I actually have no idea why it's echoing through. Right, I don't know if that'll have solved it or totally muted you. So could you do us a favor and speak? Just so we get
Yeah, I want to know, do you believe that there is anything that is fundamental and ultimate that institutes and dictates all possibility and impossibility?
So, do I believe that there is something that is fundamental that dictates possibility and impossibility? I don't have. I would say that I don't know. In terms of having a knowledge.
I didn't ask you if you know. I didn't ask if you know.
Okay. Do I believe that there is? Whether I think. Okay, one second. That's quite a specific metaphysical claim. So just give us a second. Okay. Do I believe that there is something that it dictates about? I have no idea. If I'm honest, I have absolutely no idea.
So you don't have a belief that there's something fundamental that dictates all possibility and impossibility then?
I don't have either belief or disbelief because I don't necessarily understand what that would relate to.
Are you without a positive belief that there is something fundamental that dictates all possibility and impossibility?
Am I without a positive belief that there is something fundamental that dictates all possibility and impossibility? So do I lack the positive belief? Do I lack the positive belief in God?
I didn't mention God.
But it's kind of applicable.
I didn't mention God.
That's fair enough. Okay, so then do I believe that there is something that sustains? Do I believe it? Am I without the positive? I would say I'm without the positive belief because I don't think I can characteristically say what that belief would be if it did exist.
Okay. So you don't know, or excuse me, you do not believe that there is something that institutes and secures any and all possibility and impossibility.
So did you say I don't know there? Sorry.
No, I misspoke. I said you don't believe. Okay, so you are without that belief. Now, can you please explain to me, therefore, since you cannot, and I'm coming from the Christian worldview, that the Christian worldview, the God of the Bible, is that which institutes and secures all possibility and impossibility according to his redemptive plan of human history, and he's revealed that in natural and special revelation.
Right.
But I assume that that's something that you do not accept. So I want to know, since you do not believe that the God of the Bible is necessary ontologically for anything, and you don't believe that he's required for intelligibility of the world around you, then my next question is anything impossible, right? You've answered that question, right?
Well, I guess I would say that if the Christian, I guess the point being would be that because with you relating it to what is necessary, obviously what is mortal. So in terms of it would have to occur in all possible.
But as far as you're concerned, there is nothing identifiable or defensible that would make anything impossible. Am I correct that that's your view?
There's nothing identifiable that would make anything impossible. I would say that it depends on how we define impossible. What do you mean by impossible?
Something cannot happen.
Something that could not ever happen ever.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that would be defined in logical terms.
Well, I'm not defining it in logical terms. I'm defining it in metaphysical terms.
But I mean,
do you believe that anything? Do you believe that anything is metaphysically impossible?
Do I believe that something is metaphysically impossible? Yes.
Anything. What is impossible? Metaphysically.
What is impossible? That which defies the laws of logic.
Okay.
So a being which is not equal to itself.
Okay.
Would be an example.
Where did you? Okay. So do metaphysical? Do the laws of logic prevent me from jumping to the moon?
Do the laws of logic prevent you from jumping to the moon? It would be. I would say that somewhat, yeah.
How?
I would say that logic exists in being, and being essentially prevents you from. It forces you to conform with a certain natural principle, natural laws which exist within a material.
The laws of logic just simply dictate that for any entity, it is what it is in a given time index, and it cannot equal its negation. The laws of logic would not instantiate the uniformity of nature.
What? No,
Now,
I think sorry.
how would the law of identity prevent me from jumping to the moon, or the law of non-contradiction?
How would the law of identity prevent you? Well, the law of identity would allow you to would instantiate the foundation of all the other laws in terms of normativity in relation to what matter is.
How would the law of non-contradiction prevent me from jumping to the moon?
Well, I would say that the law of non-contradiction would prevent you from jumping to the moon, because it would allow for the establishment of identities, which is the fundamental normativity that exists in the laws of physics. And so the laws of physics would be the ones that prevent
you. So it's the laws of physics that prevent me from jumping to the moon.
Yes, and they're underpinned by the laws of logic.
Okay, is there something that is fundamental and absolute that institutes and secures that there are laws?
In terms of laws of logic, or in terms of...
No, I'm talking about laws of physics, the regularity of nature, the uniformity of nature. Is there something fundamental and ultimate that institutes laws of nature?
They very well may be. I'm just not aware of it. And
I didn't ask you if they may be. I said, does it exist? Is there something that institutes and secures the actuality and the perpetuity of the regularity of nature?
Anything that establishes the regularity of nature.
So are you just claiming the laws of nature are just there, and there's no reason why they exist, that they haven't been imposed and sustained by something?
I'm saying that they very well may have been imposed, or they may
not
have been imposed.
I'm not asking you maybe questions. I'm asking you what is from your perspective, since you claim you do not need the God of the Bible and this revelation of himself about that he is in control of this world, right? Since you don't need that, I want to see if you can speak coherently about your world when you reject the God of the Bible. Now, in order to speak intelligibly about this world, you're going to need some preconditions or prerequisites. One of those is going to be the uniformity of nature, or the laws of nature. You said, I can't jump to the moon because of the laws of nature. And I ask you, has something instituted, put into place that there are laws of nature and sustains it? Okay? Is there something that has done that?
Well, this is the thing. I could refer to the regularity of nature without being able to explain sufficiently the regularity of nature. So I could say nature is regular. How would you
know that? And then how do you know it continues? How do you know that the future will be like the past?
I don't.
Well, then you can't say it's impossible for me to jump to the moon.
I could say that it's.
Is it impossible for me to jump to the moon?
I could say that it's impossible given the fundamental.
Is it impossible for me to jump to the moon in the next 10 minutes?
I would say that it would be highly improbable.
I didn't ask you that question.
Let's say, would it be absolutely impossible? Yeah, I would probably say it would be impossible.
I didn't say absolutely. I said, is it impossible?
Yeah, it's impossible.
Okay. Now, so you're making a statement about the future.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, does that statement about the future depend that the future will be like the past?
Does it depend that the future would be like the past? Why do I feel like I'm in Hume's problem of induction?
Well, you have a very big problem that you're going to have to cross.
One second. So, do I think that the future, it must be like the past in order to make claims about the future? Yeah, if I went Humean, then I would say no. There's no reason to that. I'm just forced to believe it.
Well, you're making a claim that it's impossible in your non-Christian world, a world that is not attributed to the God of the Bible, that it's impossible for me to jump to the moon because of the regularity of nature, and that the future will be like the past. Okay? Will the future be like the past? Do you know that?
I guess there comes to a point when whether I can make a knowledge claim about the future in general, without because it's an unverifiable statement.
Do you have a justification that the future will be like the past?
So what I would say is, yes, I think that you can make a justifiable argument in relation to the future being like the past.
What is it that institute? We're not talking about probability because that's not necessarily true. Will the future be like the past?
I can't say it will or will not, because I can't have a knowledge claim for that.
So all right, and then you can't. If you can't tell me that the future will be like the past, then you have no grounds to say that it's impossible for me to jump to the moon in the next 10 minutes.
I can. I could say that I could say it's impossible by the definition of the word impossible, but it depends on, like, if you were to say that, like,
now you're playing word games. We're just talking in normal language. Okay, no little mental, verbal gymnastics here. Is it impossible for me to jump to the moon in the next 10 minutes? You said yes. I said, why? And you said, well, there are laws of nature, physics. I asked you, will the future be like the past? Right? And you said yes, but you cannot rationally justify that, can you? In your not God world.
I can, based on probability, which is what I said.
No. Well, probability depends upon background information. That background information is going to include what is static in the past, the present, and the future, and what is dynamic. Do you know what, if anything, has been secured by what is fundamental to be static in perpetuity?
I'm not sure if I understood that. Could you see that in different?
Is there something at a fundamental level that imposes that some things will indeed be static in perpetuity?
Yeah, the law of logic, the law of identity.
No, the laws of logic don't stand in causal relations, my friend.
Well, I mean, what do you mean the laws of logic don't stand in causal relations?
The laws of logic do not stand in causal relations.
What do you mean by that? Like,
they don't. Would you? Yeah, the laws of logic just simply state that something is what it is, and it cannot equal what it is not. It doesn't dictate that there's a cause and effect relationship between events or particulars.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
If you'd like to argue for that, be my guest.
Okay, right. I see what you're saying. You're not logic doesn't instantiate causation.
And by the way, you keep on invoking laws of logic. Are these universal, absolute, and invariant?
Necessary, yeah.
And how do you know that anything's necessary?
It cannot be doubted.
Okay. The fact that it cannot be doubted does not instantiate it. How do you know? How do you know that anything is universal?
Well, before we get onto that, because I think that's a separate point, do you want to continue the line of question in relation to the causation? Because you were asking us about whether I could instantiate causation.
Well, actually, you're trying to invoke that are real. You can't do either. Okay, is there something that imposes either one of these at a fundamental level in reality? Is there something fundamental and ultimate that imposes and secures in
causation
perpetuity?
And laws of logic.
Is there anything that is fundamental and ultimate that institutes and secures the causal principle, the uniformity of nature, or laws of thought? Is there anything that imposes that at an ultimate and fundamental level?
I do not know.
Okay, then if you don't know, then you have no business saying any of those things exist.
Oh no, I can. I can say that based on the necessary assumption.
You can't say anything's necessary.
You can. It's for me to be able to
you can't.
For me to be able to speak.
No, you can't say anything's necessary because you don't know what is ultimate and fundamental dictating anything.
I'd say that it cannot be doubted. If it was doubtable, then
doubt requires reason, does it not?
It does.
Okay, in your world, if nothing is designated to be fundamental and ultimate, then what grounds do you have at a metaphysical foundational level for reason? Is there anything that instantiates, that institutes and secures that there is going to be anything static or continuity?
There is nothing in my worldview that I can point to that necessarily instantiates reason. It is simply undoubtable and therefore necessary for any argument.
In order to doubt, must reason be a viable concept?
Yes, including the doubt of reason.
Okay, could you reason? Okay, doubt requires reason, does it not?
It does. So we can't doubt reason without reason.
Okay, now, reason or doubt requires reason as a prerequisite. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree.
Okay, now, reason, could you reason in a world where nothing can be defensively argued to be impossible?
Could you reason in a world where... Sorry, say that again. Could you reason in a world where...
Can you reason in a world where nothing is impossible?
Could you reason in a world where nothing is impossible? Could you reason in a world where nothing is impossible? If it like this is a how are you defining impossible? Does it include the so could something be impossible?
Nothing is impossible. Anything and anything can happen.
Anything and anything could happen, including something that which
yeah.
defies...
For example, me scratching my nose, okay, could produce 4 Eiffel Towers. Is that impossible?
Right. What I'm really concerned with is whether something could be itself and not itself.
Listen. I'm asking you very clear, circumspect questions that the people, my interlocutors on a day-by-day basis, don't have any trouble answering. You seem to be tying yourself in knots, answering questions that other people don't have trouble answering.
Oh, maybe that's true. I just want clarity from this, so I just want to make sure that we're on the same.
I'm making myself very clear. I've done so several times.
Okay? Maybe that's
is
true.
Anything identifiably and defensively? Is anything identifiably or defensively impossible?
Is anything identifiably or that is impossible?
In a world. Okay, what is it at a fundamental level, ontologically? That imposes what's impossible. And please don't say the laws of logic, because we've covered that. You haven't defended the actuality of the laws of logic. You've just said they're true because you can't doubt them.
Yes, that would be necessary.
No, you don't know what anything is necessary because you don't know what's fundamental and ultimate that would dictate that anything is necessary.
Well, my question, if I may,
I want you to focus on what I just said.
What do you think necessary means?
I want you. Okay, it means it cannot not be.
Yeah, that it need be essential, fundamental.
Okay.
Fundamental. Essential.
Okay. Is there something that is ultimate and fundamental that institutes and secures that anything is necessary?
The only thing.
And I'm talking ontologically.
Well, my point. Well, one. I would say that the laws of logic exist in being itself.
The laws of logic don't stand in causal relations.
You just jumped from one argument to the other.
The laws of logic do not stand in causal relations.
Okay, so the laws of logic don't stand in causal relations.
Since you're going to say that something's necessary, I want to know what it is at a fundamental and ultimate level that would institute and secure that anything is necessary. Do you have anything defensible that would implement and secure that?
There is nothing that could show the necessity of logic sufficiently. It is fundamentally impossible.
I didn't mention logic. You need to focus on my questions, not answer something that you would like to me have said. You need to answer the questions that I have asked you. Is there anything that is fundamental and ultimate?
You're roboting a bit, mate.
Is there anything that is fundamental and ultimate that dictates any and all possibility and impossibility?
Is there anything that dictates all possibility and impossibility? Not that I'm aware of or not aware of, if that's... So I have no idea.
Nothing identifiable. Okay, so therefore nothing's impossible then.
Well, yeah, anything that breaks the laws of logic would be impossible.
No. What dictates the laws of logic?
Necessity.
What fundamentally and ultimately institutes and secures that?
What institutes necessity? It's an ability to be doubted.
You're not understanding.
It's essential.
Is everything that is, can be, or cannot be the sourced by what is fundamental and ultimate?
Sorry, you're roboting, mate. Your connection.
Okay, you have no identifiable ultimate and something that's fundamental that would constitute a secure.
You need to disconnect and reconnect.
One can turn down the bit rate of the room. Probably help.
Just give him a minute, guys.
Turn on the bit rate. You can probably half it and the quality won't be hampered too much.
Okay. Is that better?
That sounds better to me.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, he has a question, mate. Would you say that God is necessary?
I'll be God Himself is what is fundamental and ultimate. He's eternal.
Right, and is His existence necessary?
Okay. It's necessary, and he's metaphysically necessary. Yes.
Okay. Why would you say that He's metaphysically necessary?
Because He revealed that He is the only thing that is eternal.
Okay.
Now,
and how do you know that He revealed?
First of all, I'll be glad to address that, but you have yet to answer my questions. You keep on flipping and flopping all over the place. Now, what I want to know to you is, can you say what is, can be, or cannot be when there's nothing identifiable? Would you not overspeak me, please?
Sorry, I'm just running it through my head. Sorry.
Okay. So, can you assert in a logically necessary way what is, can be, or cannot be if you have nothing that is identifiably instituting what's possible and impossible? Since you don't know what, if anything, is fundamental or ultimate, and you have no defense that there's something dictating what's possible and impossible, then you're not going to be in a position to say what is, can be, or cannot be. You keep on appealing to the laws of logic, but the laws of logic are abstractions about the nature of all particulars. But you don't know.
Okay.
You don't know the fact that you can't doubt them doesn't instantiate them. I want to know how you can assert anything that is necessary when you don't know that anything is fundamental and ultimate, dictating everything.
Well, here's actually, I guess, the point. I would say that there cannot be knowledge in relation to something which is absolute and ultimate, because it goes beyond comprehension, because it would require something that goes beyond human capacity. So then you would have to tell me how you can know God without attributing something which is non-absolute
first of
to
all,
him.
You're changing the subject now. You're baiting and switching. Now, everything you just said is wrong.
How is it?
There are Listen to me. Everything you just said is categorically wrong because there are rocks on the moon. Do you accept or reject that?
Wait, what?
Everything you just said is wrong because there are rocks on the moon. Do you accept or reject that statement?
I have no idea what that means in terms of how it's relevant.
There are rocks on the moon. Therefore, everything you've said is false. Do you accept that?
No, I do not accept that.
Okay, well, how would you rule that out in a world where nothing is defensibly impossible?
Well, I would say the laws of logic are always necessitated, which is the necessitation rule in modal logic, which is why they're in all possible worlds include logic.
No, how would you know what's possible if you don't know what is fundamental and ultimate dictating what's possible? What's possible and impossible are contingencies. Okay?
No, they're not.
Okay, listen to me. What's possible? We're not talking about abstractions here. We're talking about the real world, okay? We're not talking about your vivid imagination, all right? What we're talking about is the ontology of existence, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What is, can be, or cannot be ontologically? Is there something that is fundamental and ultimate that is the source and the basis of why anything is, can be, or cannot be ontologically?
That question cannot be answered.
If you can't answer that, then you need to be quiet in your non-Christian worldview, because you're not going to be in a position to say what is, can be, or cannot be. The only way that we could Good. Then how would you be able to know what can be ontologically then? How do you do that?
So you would build it up from the necessitated basis of being, nothingness, and reason.
No, listen to me. That is mumbo jumbo what you just said. Okay.
What is that mumbo jumbo?
It's mumbo jumbo. Please tell me what is fundamental and ultimate, dictating and securing what is ontologically possible and impossible. What is it?
There is no way to define something which is external to possibility by definition.
Okay. Repeat that again.
So there is no ability to define something which goes beyond the limits of language, goes beyond the limits of possibility.
Okay. So
by definition.
So as far as you know, is then events and relationships be events could all be spontaneous and unrelated.
As far as any of us know, there is no fundamental instantiation of the laws of logic beyond the point of necessity.
Okay. Again, the laws of logic pertain to all particulars. All right. Now I'm going to ask you a question.
I deny the existence of particulars.
Oh, you do? Okay. Good. Well, then the conversation's over then, because then there are no actual distinctions. Any verbalizing of distinctions would be fiction.
No, you can have individuals and individual universals. So this would be the understanding of Aristotle.
When I talk about particulars, I'm talking about things that are discrete from other things ontologically. Are we clear?
That's determinate objects or determinate beings.
Okay.
That's
Yeah. Listen. Listen to me. I'm talking about ontologically here. Okay. Is the ultimacy of reality? Is it a concrete one or a concrete many?
Is it the one or many? It's both.
And how were you able to determine that?
Because
how did you determine what is the concrete one? What is that?
How did I determine what is the concrete one?
What is the concrete one? What is it that, in order to tell me what the concrete one is, you're going to have to be identifying what is fundamental and ultimate. But you told me that that's unidentifiable.
I don't believe I can tell you what the concrete one is beyond the point of saying.
Then how do you know there's a concrete one?
All I would say is there's a necessity of existence.
No.
So
listen to me. All you're giving me is mumbo jumbo.
Now, how am I giving you mumbo jumbo, man?
Is the totality of reality? Is it a concrete one or a concrete many? You said it's both. Okay, what is the concrete one?
What is the concrete one? The necessity of existence. Sir,
that's an abstraction. I want to know concretely, what is it that is one?
It is I can only talk in abstractions about what is an abstract concept.
No, if something is a concrete one, it's not an abstract one. That is why I ask you, is the totality of existence a concrete one or a concrete many? You said it's a concrete one and a concrete
I see what you
many.
mean. I see what you're saying. Okay, I don't know.
We're talking ontologically. Okay, so you don't know whether the totality of reality that it's a concrete one or not.
I don't know whether the fundamental existence of reality is one or many in its
okay.
So
when you invoke references to distinctions being actual, is that real or fiction?
When something is actual, I would say that it's real. Yeah.
So actual distinctions between entities, it's real.
Yep.
And how do you know that?
I could say that the distinctions between the entities, I guess I would say that there is no fundamental way to know whether these distinctions exist in terms of the totality.
So you don't know if distinctions are real or fiction?
I do in a concrete sense, but not in an abstract sense.
Okay, so you know that distinctions are real. Okay, now is there anything that concrete unifies these distinctions so that you could intelligibly speak in your world? The God of the Bible Himself has imposed a concrete oneness and manyness. Okay, so is there anything in your non-Christian worldview that concretely unifies the distinctions that you say are real?
Becoming. I would say becoming unified.
No, what is it concretely that imposes and sustains that the unity among the diversity of entities is real?
Wait a minute. Wait. What do you mean by concretely? Because are you saying that God? Then what do you mean by?
I'm not talking about.
What do you mean by
abstract
concrete?
unity.
Well, what do you mean by concrete?
When God created this world,
Mm-hmm.
okay, he introduced an array of distinctions of particulars. He then imposed at various levels categories, classes, right, and universals. They are imposed by God and they are sustained by God, but you don't accept that.
But how would you know that they were imposed and sustained by God?
We would know that by God revealing it. Now,
I
want to know from you. I want it. Please don't overtalk me.
Well, I haven't had a chance to ask you any questions.
I want to know from you. Well, you see, you wanted to establish our discussion here was about the viability of agnosticism.
Yes.
Right? I'll be glad to discuss my worldview in short order. But we haven't finished the first topic. You want to pretend like you did an effective case. You have done none of the such. Now, what I want to know is this. Can you make sense of your world if all of the distinctions in actual discrete particulars, ontological concrete particulars, that they is actual unity as opposed to abstract unity? Does unity actually exist among any discrete entities in existence?
Yeah, in becoming.
What imposes that at a fundamental and ultimate level?
I would not be able to make a knowledge claim about what could or could not impose.
So you have no defense that unity has actually been imposed and sustained.
I would say that my defense is in the observation of unity and the necessary observation of unity.
You're inferring there's unity there. Okay, if you see two women walking down the sidewalk, you might conclude that they're identical twins, but then you find out that they're doppelgangers. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
What I want to know from you is when you claim by your sense perception that there's unity among diversity. All right. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to say, well, it seems to be that way, it appears that way. It's because the unity could be illusory.
I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point.
Hey, would you not overtalk me, please?
No, would you
not overtalk me, please? Now, is the unity real?
Is the unity real? Yes.
Okay, as opposed to merely abstract. Now, what is it at a fundamental and ultimate level that is not the God of the Bible that imposes and secures that the unity is real?
I do not know if there is anything which imposes.
So you don't know that. So you don't know that the unity is real. Then
I would say that I know it's real. Yes, I would.
Okay, what is it that imposes and secures that?
I would say that it's a hylomorphic relationship between
that's
individuals.
gobbledygook. Listen to me.
That's Aristotle, actually.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to give me an answer that everyone in this room can understand.
Okay.
You see, it's very common. It's very common for graduate students like you to speak in mumbo jumbo, to speak in double talk, to try to obscure the fact that you can't answer the question.
Okay.
Now, I want to know, is there something that has actually instituted and secured actual unity?
Is there anything that is instituted and secured actual unity? Actual unity. Unity between what?
Listen, dude, you're wasting my time.
No,
I'm asking please do not overtalk me.
I know you're
overtalk me. Don't overtalk me. Now, you are wasting my time by giving me mumbo jumbo gobbledygook responses. I ask these questions every single day. I've been doing it for several years from people from all different educational backgrounds. You're one of the rare individuals who keeps on spewing gobbledygook answers. Okay? Now, if you understand the basics of philosophy and you can explain it, you should be able to explain in everyday language for everyone in this room to understand what you're saying. Now, is there something that in actuality imposes and secures that there's unity among diversity?
Is there anything in reality which imposes or secures unity among diversity? Unity among diversity. One second. Let's formulate an adequate response, if I may. So, is there anything that? Right, let's try and make sure that I say this right. So, one second. If oh wait. 1 second. Right. I would say that being itself necessitates unity at a fundamental level.
Okay. Does being encompass all particulars?
Being encompasses.
Does being represent? Is it the set of all particulars?
Of all particulars. If by particulars, do you mind if I take that as individuals? Just
all discrete ontological
entities.
Discrete.
Does being represent all discrete ontological entities? Yes.
Okay, so it's an abstract set?
Yes.
Then it wouldn't be concrete. I want to know what concretely is ultimate and fundamental that imposes the actuality and the perpetuity of unity among discrete entities.
But wait a minute. What I kind of don't understand here is why you think there could be something concrete, which would
is there something that is ultimate and fundamental that imposes actual concrete unity as opposed to the appearance of unity?
There is nothing that we could know of that would be concrete that could establish unity beyond speaking.
So you don't know if unity is concretely real or it's an illusion.
I do, because it's necessitated.
What at a fundamental and ultimate level institutes and secures that the unity is real and concrete?
Logic.
Logic is not what would dictate logic would be an abstraction, sir. That is a terrible answer, and I'm not trying to be insulted.
That's okay, I understand.
That's the kind of answer that I would expect from a 14-year-old, not a graduate student.
Okay. Cool. That's a bit spicy.
No, I guess listen, it's spot on.
Maybe it is, and let me establish why I'm pointing towards this, because if I may, I've let you speak. Let me elaborate. I want to elaborate. I want to elaborate. I'm going
to server mute you.
Look, it's not your stream at the end of the day. So all you'll be doing is muting me,
You're
talking.
In my room.
Okay, that's really good.
I don't mute you.
Look. I want to expand upon what I'm saying.
We're not going to keep on doing this. Okay.
I agree. I don't want to do that.
Now, I'm going to mute you in a second.
No, let's just take turns.
Is logic what is fundamental and ultimate, instituting and securing all possibility and impossibility?
Sorry, say that again.
Is logic what is fundamental and ultimate, instituting and securing what's possible and impossible?
It is necessarily establishing what is possible.
No, you're not answering the question. Is logic what is ultimate and fundamental, instituting and securing what can or cannot be in terms of all ontology?
Yes.
Okay, you've now contradicted yourself. Do you realize that?
How?
Because I asked you earlier, is there anything identifiably and defensively ultimate and fundamental that institutes and secures what's possible? And you said you had nothing of the kind.
There is no such thing that is, maybe I misspoke.
You didn't. No, I asked you the question several times. It's fresh in my memory.
You misspoke before. Why am I not allowed to misspeak?
I asked you several times earlier in the conversation, and this is being recorded so people can play back the video. I asked you several times over and over again, is there anything that is fundamental and ultimate right? That institutes and secures
Fundamental, yes.
all
Ultimate,
possibility. No, okay, good. Then nothing would be ultimate. Then all you have, what is fundamental, is metaphysical pluralism, where you have an array of unconcretely unified, discrete entities, all of which are independent of each other and are each sovereign within
That's
themselves.
begging the question. That's begging the question.
No, that's not begging the question, because it wasn't an argument.
Well, it is, because like what you're saying.
No, it's not. No, it's not an argument. It was a statement of what is called metaphysical pluralism. You believe, therefore.
I don't believe in metaphysical pluralism.
Okay. Listen to me. Well, then you're going to have to take back what you said. Then now listen carefully. You told me earlier there is nothing ultimate and fundamental. Now you're changing your tune. Now you're saying, "Oh, now there's something fundamental but not ultimate." Whereas when I asked you before, I asked you
fundamental
times,
but not ultimate, and I've established that numerous times.
Okay, and how do you know what's fundamental?
Through reason, what can and cannot be doubted, what is necessary.
No. I'm talking ontologically. How do you know? Are you omniscient?
No, actually, I'm not.
Okay, so by reason, you know what is fundamental in existence, that is eternal. So is what as fundamental? Is it one thing, or is it a plurality?
Actually, may I just push back on that and just say this?
What is fundamental a plurality?
Are you omniscient?
Okay.
Are you omniscient?
Fundamental?
Are you omniscient?
Listen to me.
Darth,
you're wasting my
omniscient?
time.
Are you omniscient?
Okay, man? I don't have to be, because I'm on the receiving end of a God who is omniscient, and he makes me to know certain things that I cannot be wrong about, that are within the scope of his redemptive plan of history. But since you reject I don't want to have to serve or meet you again.
Look, I just want to ask. I want to ask you.
Listen to me.
I want to ask you.
You claim you're a graduate student.
Yeah, I am. You're
not acting like a graduate student.
Well, I think this is funnily enough. I've let you speak this entire time. I'm asking you. Look, mate. Either we're going. Look. You can.
I'm going to mute you again.
You can keep muting us. I don't really care. It's my stream, so it's like at the end of the day, like it doesn't really end up doing anything.
I've explained to you my worldview.
1 second.
Do you accept the Christian worldview,
guys? Okay.
Right.
So, just to let everyone know, essentially what I'm trying to ask him is whether he is omniscient in order to show whether he can understand whether something is necessary or not, in terms of being absolute. Because I say it's fundamental, which means it's necessitated, but that I cannot know something which is absolute. Now he's saying he can know something which is absolute, which I would argue implies that he would need to be omniscient to know it. He would have to know something which is beyond the capacity of, or absolutely, that which is absolutely knowable, that which is perfect and absolute, which implies omniscience. So he would need to be God in order to be able to show that his position is established here. 1 second. Yeah, don't worry.
He said, no, there's nothing identifiable doing that. Now, what is fundamental? Is it a plurality of things, or is what is fundamental a concrete one?
Okay, so what is fundamental is that which is necessitated, which is...
Listen to me carefully. I'm going to tell you this one more time.
It would be a fundamental...
I'm asking you a specific question.
It would be a fundamental one.
Okay, then distinctions, what is fundamental is a concrete one. So then distinctions would be illusory.
Why would distinctions be illusory?
Okay, so they're not illusory?
No, because one is...
Okay, could you tell me, what is it? What is the concrete one then?
What is the concrete one? Being.
That's not informative.
It is the foundation of all concrete.
No, it is not informative.
It is definitely informative, which is why Parmenides argued it.
I want to know what is concretely one in existence that dictates
being,
all particulars.
Being.
What is that? What is that?
How does being dictate all particulars?
No. Okay, please don't interrupt. Okay, please don't interrupt. It's telling me its being is beyond vague and ambiguous. It's that's not informative. What is this concrete one?
It is the fundamental is, in the words of Parmenides. It is being itself.
Listen to me. I'm going to end this really soon, because you need, if you claim that you put yourself on a YouTube, ask a philosopher anything. First of all, you're not a philosopher. You don't have a PhD. No, you're not a philosopher. Have you earned a PhD? Okay, then don't call yourself a philosopher.
Why do you need a PhD to become a philosopher?
Okay. Because that's like calling yourself a doctor before you have an MD.
No, it's not actually. It's very different.
All right, we're not. Listen, we're not going to play these silly little games. I want to know what the concrete one is. What is it? And don't say being. I want. Okay, we're done. We're done with you. You're a moron.
Oh, okay. So, I'm pretty sure was that I think I was that.
Hold on, people can make comments in a minute. I just want to make a comment here. This is what happens with some of these graduates. This is what happens when they know that they cannot. Please do not overtalk me. No, we're done. I asked you to give me an informative answer.
Well, okay? I think it's even if you understand,
overtalk me again, I'll kick you from the server.
If you kick us from the server, that's fair enough.
Okay, bye.
Okay. And that, my friends, is how not to do philosophy. Okay. So more than anything, this has been a great exercise in how not to dictate yourself in a debate. So that's kind of more of what I wanted to kind of go down. Essentially, when we talk about what is it rational to be agnostic? I would say that fundamentally, agnosticism is a claim about whether a statement is truth apt or not. And so to say that whether it's rational to be agnostic, you basically have to establish that there is ontologically a reason for disbelief and belief being equally valid, okay? Or that you cannot actually establish either that, or you cannot actually come to a knowledge claim about the existence of God. So, for example, me taking God being the absolute there, I'm incapable of knowing that. It goes beyond comprehension. In the words of Anthony Flew, it's intangible, invisible, and was it intangible, invisible, and abstract, I think. So there is nothing to actually point to as a quote-unquote truth maker or a foundation for that claim. And so metaphysically, we cannot establish whether a God does or does not exist, and therefore the statement is not apt for truth. That's the position I was taking. It's unfalsifiable and unverifiable, in other words. So it's an epistemological take. So yeah. I'm muting you, Socrates. I love that. I love that. And so this is essentially what he was trying to presuppose through the entire debate was that we must know the absolute for anything else. Before anything else, we must know the absolute. But the irony of it is, if you were able to know the absolute, then it must include all other categories of knowledge to be absolute. Because it's perfect, it includes everything beneath it within its perfection. So when he talks about the one and the many, if we talk about the infinite must include the many, and so the perfect must include all of the quote-unquote particulars or individuals beneath categorically. And so you'd have to have knowledge about everything. Essentially, you'd have to have infinite knowledge to have knowledge of the absolute, which means that since he doesn't have infinite knowledge, he cannot have knowledge of the absolute by definition. So when he says, I am not omniscient, he ultimately undermined the foundation of him saying he knows the absolute. So he could not know it by definition. So yeah, but I hope he's enjoyed that. Anthony Flew did become a theist, but I don't believe that had anything to do with him dismissing his argument. He dismissed, he believed that it was a matter of faith, and that's fair enough. And look, if you want to be, I'm not saying that you're irrational for being a theist. You're not, and you're not irrational for being an atheist. I'm an agnostic man. I think you're just as rational. What's the concrete one, PP? It's being, no, you're wrong. What's the concrete one? Yeah, exactly, man. Thanks for the donation. That's exactly what happened. £2, you're a philosopher. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was an experience to say the least, though. I wanted the I just wanted the experience of it all more than anything. If he, I think he understood where the conversation was going more than anything when I pushed back, because his logic is actually self-defeating, like on every case, because he's trying to say that he knows something outside of existence, and something not only outside of existence, something which is absolute necessary, and something which is absolute necessary and perfect, essentially, implies omniscience, and implies that he could gain information about something which is like that. So you'd actually have to imply a level of humanism in order or establish himself as God. Yeah, I know he's got the railroad. I know he's got a problem, man. He's got like a power issue, man. It's so bad. Oh, thanks. I think I handled myself well as well. I think that I liked it when he called Aristotle gobbledygook. that was my favorite part. So as hylomorphism. That's just gobbledygook. It's Aristotle, actually. Oh yeah. I think it's just, I don't know. Like the guy tries, doesn't he? You should have just, like, since he doesn't believe in the necessity of knowledge, like logic rather, then you could be just like, can you, like, that's actually a thing, like, can you know the unknowable? Could God know the unknowable? Don't talk over us, baby. Oh no, oh my god. Imagine having that much of a complex. So you've got to, like, what has happened to someone for, like, them to have that much that need for control, though? That's concerning. The Maverick, he philosophically defeated me. How? How? Like, I really want to understand that. His argument is not only self-defeating, but he didn't even show why mine was wrong. He took us down a dialogue tree, which was a bad one, and didn't even listen to my point. Almost 500 viewers on the stream. Let's go. Absolutely, man. If you can share this, if I can hit 500 viewers, I'll be fucking sick. Fucking sick. Do 63 times 67 in your head. Shit. Okay, wait a minute. Fuck. Was that like 60? Fucking. Is it like 3? I think it's 3,981. I don't know if that was right. So let's check, actually. Nope, 4,221. No. Well, there we go. I suck at maths. There we go. Can't do that. Presuppositionalism is cringe. I absolutely agree. Presuppositionalism is the worst of the suppositionalisms. Absolutely tragic. There might be a God, but I doubt he's a Christian God. He's too OP. Now, I think the thing is, I think that all of this only makes sense in relation. Like, I'm agnostic to the Christian God, like the way that it was defined. The infinite, omnipotent, omnibenevolent creator and sustainer of all things. Agnostic about that. Absolutely atheist about things like Thor. That kind of thing. Don't waste our time. I know, approaching 10k subs, man. It's absolute class. I think that, like, I don't think it's not just Wittgenstein that hated that. I think that it's actually it's everyone that hates that kind of discussion, Devonic. Like, honestly, absolutely everyone. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. If you have no empirical evidence for or against existence of something, how does logic and reasoning differ? Your logic cannot be reasoned against. It's saying that logic proves logic. it's not that logic proves logic, it's that logic can be used to disprove logic. And since he argued himself that doubt is dependent upon reason, then the instantiation of doubt against logic instantiates reason itself. So as you try to alienate logic through doubt, you only necessitate and show the necessity of logic, because you are using logic to try and remove logic. You're trying to talk yourself out of words. So yeah. William Lane Craig actually say presuppositionalism commits an informal fallacy. That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so presuppositionalism, for anyone that doesn't know, is basically the idea that we I'll try and put this in better terms. So presuppositionalism argues that we can basically presuppose a line of quote-unquote axiomatic beliefs which must be the foundation of what we believe.
Jeremy donated £10. PP isn't he essentially just making the same folly that Hegel spoke directly against, all while Hegel believed in divinity? That we couldn't have knowledge of an omniscient being, and also that an omniscient being was inherently constrained as a being.
Yes, absolutely, Jeremy. That is perfectly well put. It's essentially that he's making the claim that he's essentially making the claim that we could have knowledge of what would be the end of knowledge for Hegel, which he would see as basically absolute spirit and God himself, which is why Hegel can be read as a humanist. So it's like you wouldn't say a being for God, you'd have to say being itself with Hegel, from what I'm aware. So yeah, that's I think that's a really great point, Jeremy. Thank you for your donation. But yeah, presuppositionalism is basically the argument that we presuppose some given beliefs in relation to our worldview, that we can do that. What I would talk about is, I would say that I think that presuppositionalism begs the question. You can't presuppose or assert anything foundational beyond necessity, and that's because they cannot be doubted. So you don't need to assert them. They are, and it's unquestionable. So that'd be like the laws of logic. And then I would say, and I think this is even worse when we talk about ethics. When people talk about being an ethical presuppositionalist, I genuinely die inside. Like, this is exactly what Hegel hated. Like, to be honest, Jeremy, like, you're absolutely right. The idea of starting the dialectic too late rather. Like, the idea of just presupposing a given end made Hegel feel sick. Everything must be grounded necessarily, and sufficiently. So yeah. No talking bad about Thor, mate. You're on thin ice. I love Thor. I wish he existed, you know. Actually, funnily enough, my family name very well might be from Norse mythology. It's Howth is head. It's actually it's from a Danish spelling of head, which was the sword of Heimdall. So yeah, crazy Danish family history. Always ask yourself, yeah. I think I saw Shadow as well. I hope you're both doing all right. I hope you weren't fighting in my chat. I know you too. What a whole load of gobbledygook, eh? Found you from that base chat with Destiny, dug up some of your old stuff, and I am what you worried about. Thought about vegan, but turned away by NTT. Really, Danny? Why? Why would name the trait necessarily turn you away? Did you actually like, oh right, yeah, I'm wrong, but because of, I'm inconsistent, but the problem is my consideration of like disabled people or something. I thought your last name was Philosophy. I wish, yeah. Doxed. He's a very loud, self-important. Yeah, he does remind us a bit of the fascists, except the fascists have less need for power and control. So that's somewhat concerning. Fear the theocracy, man. When is the rationality rules and cosmic skeptic conversation going up? I don't know. I'm going to make sure that all the patrons see it first. So it's currently on Patreon. Good luck, John Doe. Enjoy your journey through time. How could his name be Philosophy if he hasn't finished his PhD yet? How could it, Tuss? How could I call myself Philosophy if I haven't got a doctorate? But I like how it was like, it would be like calling yourself a doctor without a doctorate. And it's like, no, it wouldn't, which is why I don't call myself a doctor. Well, Danny, if you want to have a conversation about veganism with me, you're welcome on the show. The question is, can you jump to the moon right now? I realized, I was like, wait a minute, am I in Hume's problem of induction? Like, oh shit. Oh god, I don't want to be here. Oh god, that's probably a bit high. Am I peaking or anything? Right. But yeah, I definitely don't want to be on like Hume's problem of induction. Well, honestly, Ben, it's more to do. Thanks for. I really appreciate. I really appreciate all the support, Ben. And honestly, it's more of like a juxtaposition. I really wanted to show how not to behave in philosophy. Really, like the separation between a philosopher and a sophist. That like at the nth degree would be that. That would be literally the looking for a contradiction and an unwillingness to pursue truth together. That would be like the real bad example of a sophist. Except he's not as good of a rhetorician as most sophists. Most of the time, they look for a way to like establish power in society. Prescribe their belief structure and so on. He's just a bad sophist. You neglected to realize that God used his impotence to assign that particular discord as a fiefdom of his representation on earth. That's exactly what it would have to be. God establishes himself. Darth Dawkins would actually, I mean, I'm not going to lie, from his theological stantiation there, he would be asserting himself as Christ, as God made man. That is essentially what he would have to be doing there. Which is blasphemous, may I add. Fundamentally blasphemous. Someone go and tell him that this blasphemy will not be permitted. Could Thor jump to the moon? Now that's the real question. That's the real question. One pre-sup man. Pre-sup! You should have said physically impossible and gone from there. I know I probably should have just went from there, but like I realized that that he was going to go, well, what makes something physically impossible? So I just wanted to underpin the point that the physical laws of reality are already foundationally underpinned by normativity. So yeah. Do you have any critiques of virtue ethics? Yes, I don't think that it necessarily informs you on what your duties are in terms of what you ought to do in a given situation. It instead tells you of a dispositional state to be in the situation without providing you actual information of how to engage with reality. So it provides very little systemic a very little systemic understanding of how to engage in new and absolutely new scenarios. And then I would say also any given virtues are usually can be question begging depending upon who's establishing the virtues.
O'Neill donated £5.
Oh, thank you very much, O'Neill. If you have something to say, drop it in the chat. Let us know. Also, thank you to ask yourself, by the way, Isaac, for basically, giving us a heads up of what his arguments are. Really appreciate that, and kind of let us know what I was going into. So, thanks, Isaac. Yeah, Shadow, you can come on the stream. Also, I'm glad someone knows who Parmenides is. Yeah, I think the guy's got some serious issues. And thanks for letting us know that it was fixed. Okay.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. How you doing? For everyone who's watching, this is Shadow Starshine. He's a fellow philosophy nerd and, yeah, friend of mine. So, welcome to the stream, Shadow.
Hey. Yeah, I watched that.
I'm going to have to turn you the fuck up because I had to turn this. Yeah, I have to turn you right the fuck up because I turned this down for Darth because he was just peeking straight away. Right, okay. Go, my boy.
Well, yeah, I noticed like a lot of the times you would ask him to define something, right? Like, what do you mean by ultimate or other such terms? And he would just repeat the question and you kind of let it go. And every time you let it go, I would always like a little tear would come down my eye. Right. Well, your argument was interesting. You were taking it from this approach that, in order to say that you would actually have to be able to conceptualize that sort of knowledge in order to make a knowledge claim about it. And it's way beyond our capacities. And I thought that was interesting.
Right. Okay. Can you guys 1 second? So I think right. This could you speak for us, mate?
Hello.
Right. Can you hear both me and Shadow now? I think you should be able to.
It's good.
You can't not. Well, wait a minute. Give it like 30 seconds. Darth removed the voice. We're back now. Okay, cool. Okay. Right.
Oh,
so, yeah.
And what server did you go to? Because
I went to Darth's server. So that was something. Honestly, I'm kicked now. I think I'm banned. I don't know if I'm kicked or permabanned. But yeah, like I would definitely I'd definitely speak to him again though. I'm glutton for punishment, and I just want to hear him say he's omniscient. I want him. Is
that just what you think it would take to make his argument work?
Well, his argument fundamentally is that we need to know an absolute, perfect being, in order to foundationally argue from that point up. So it's like we have to know infinite to argue for one. And so what I want to know how he knows infinite. You know, that's so like, so he's either omniscient, or he's been given some sort of omniscient level knowledge from God. Like, I don't know. It's just mental.
I was listening to you, and you come from the continental tradition.
Yeah.
And whenever you start talking about being nothingness, I'm always like, are we making the same empirical point? Are we just talking about our experience?
Yeah, so like when I talk about being, I would relate that. Do you know Parmenides like is like argument? So like Parmenides basically argued that there is being, when it's like fundamentally at the point of is, and that there always must be, essentially, and it's that imminent necessity, that undoubtable experience that would find at the end of something like the Cartesian doubt, where we go like, look, the fundamentally we cannot get out of existence. So when I talk about being, it's he's accusing us of it being abstract. It's like, well, yeah, it is abstract. It's being itself. It's like it is the infinite in terms of a Hegelian stance. And so when he's like, that's an abstract.
Why do they have to use terms like that?
Well, I think it's nice. I like it. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with it, man.
What does it mean to be the infinite? Why can't we just say, look, we're having an experience. I can't say that I'm not. That's that.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I don't know. Did I not say that?
Like, am I crazy, or is that just a lot easier?
Did I not? I thought I was saying it. I thought that's what I was saying. I don't know, man. But
right.
What I didn't understand was, in that whole discussion, was his understanding of, like, we have knowledge of God, and it's like that he's presupposed in order to make his claims. And he's like, all right, I've presupposed the knowledge of God. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If you're allowed to presuppose the knowledge of God, why can't I just presuppose that there must be some cause, and I don't know whether it is God? Like, like, even like, why is it? Sure. Why is it the like? Oh well, sorry there, mate.
Because it's not ultimate. It doesn't have all the check marks of everything.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I don't even what any of that means. Like, to be entirely honest with you, it's ultimate, and it's like, right? Does that mean like it's the last, like, what is it, like the last form of like what's the thing on goddamn Power Rangers again? Like the Megazord? Is it like the Megazord? Like, like
yeah, exactly. Like, if we're not going full Megazord.
That's the thing. If it's not a Megazord, then really there's no such thing as reality. And like and you're never going to be able to make a claim that you're not able to jump to the moon unless the Megazord exists. So like, someone Chris just donated, says, are there any important distinctions between the concept of thresholds for Hegelian versus threshold for the ontology? I don't know Hegel all that much. Like like Hegel's not really a threshold deontologist in the sense that he doesn't hold like abstract, like he doesn't hold the thresholds in relation to something like W.D. Ross's Right and the Good. The thresholds are built into the institutions and the obligations that we have, and if those institutions are shown to be irrational, then and not fulfilling what they are supposed to be fulfilling, completing the system of drive. So in other words, if you, let's say, you have the justice system and it's leading to unjust conclusions, or if you have let's say something like the family is supposed to sustain the life of everyone and they respect the subjectivity of everyone, in terms of allowing people to have a social relationship with others, maintain the necessities of their survival and stuff like that. And it said if it something within that institutional structure was preventing that function, we've come to a point of tragedy in which the actual reasons for engaging in that have conflicted how we are engaging in that. And that's essentially where you would say like those quote unquote thresholds exist, but the thresholds would be the point of reevaluation and reinstitutionalization. So we would analyze the institution, change it, we would update our reasons. We wouldn't fall into something like a utilitarian standpoint. That would be fundamentally caprice and impossible for Hegel. It would just be an understanding of reality. It would just basically say, like, look, you have no reasons, or you have no reasons to follow this anymore at this point in time. And in which case it's fallen apart and it doesn't inform you, which is why it's tragic, because now you're lost and you don't have a grounding for what you must do. So yeah, I hope that answers the question, man. Sorry about that, Shallow.
Would another way of saying it be he doesn't have a particular normative ethic? It's all about the process and learning.
Yeah, like the normative ethic is actually a progressive process. That's exactly it. It's like ethics is a constantly progressive field, and moreover, even he would argue everything is progressive, including logic. He sees logic and as in the understanding of logic and its application as being progressive as well. So like everything's progressive for Hegel, which is funny because he's a conservative. He's like the perfect balance in many ways between a conservative and a progressivist, because he sees that, like, I think I would argue that progression and conservatism are based against values that aren't inherent. Like progression's not inherently good and conservation's not inherently good. It's in relation to human life. And I think that's the way that we should approach politics as well. And I see people call themselves progressives or call themselves conservatives, and it's like, well, it depends on the topic. Like, what are we talking about? Is what I'm conserving good or bad? Is what I'm progressing towards good or bad? You know?
Sure. I wanted to know, going back to Darth Dawkins, I wanted to know what he meant by concrete. I actually just had no idea what that meant.
I think he just meant in existence, like as in like maybe knowable, or like, I don't know. He kind of
like its own ontology, or does he mean necessarily necessary?
That's the thing, because if it was necessarily necessary, then I would have just pointed back to the laws of logic, which is what I kept doing. I'm like, right, well, the laws are like, I was like, this is actually the necessitation rule in modal logic. Where the fuck do you think you're going out of this? Like, you
well, I mean, when it comes to logic, I don't know that everything has to be governed by logic, though I would agree that logic has to exist for our existence to be what it is.
Well, it depends on what you define as everything. That's the issue, because like the whole point of I would say that you could not understand something which was not governed by logic, and all possibility. Like, that is the whole point of the necessitation rules. Basically, all possible worlds must include like the necessities for making them possible, which would be, you know, essentially whether which they can or cannot be something. So it requires logic in the first place. It requires some normativity. So like, could logic be irrelevant to something? Well, I would say that no. I would say logic must be. It's necessitated at all times, in all cases, cannot be doubted. Whether that's like because of our, maybe finitude. You know what I mean? Like, we're not God and we can't see something that goes beyond this existence, or like something which goes beyond and outside of language and the way in which we understand the world. Maybe, I don't know. But at the same time, it's an unknowable. It's like an unknowable point. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to like. It's like an unknowable point. It's what I'm trying to say. So it's like when you say like you don't know, that would probably be like the best. That's basically what I was trying to do with Darth Dawkins. Really, it's just I don't know, man. What the fuck are we even talking about anymore?
Well, yeah, it becomes sort of an incoherent question when somebody asks if it exists.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
do you think there's this impossibility out there? It's like, well, for me to say it is there.
I've already presupposed something in order to say that something is or is not the case. So it's like, and that's existence or non-existence, which means that we're already in the necessitation. We're already in the possible worlds, man. Like, I mean, it's like, do you believe that there could be worlds outside of the possible worlds? Like, I don't even know what the fuck's going on anymore, man. Like, just let us go. Like, I need to go to bed. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I think fundamentally, I think the guy doesn't understand logic. I think he doesn't understand metaphysics. And I think his vocabulary is the weirdest vocabulary I've ever come across. Like, I think you're right. Like, what the hell does he understand? Like, there's so many words that he used that I've never heard anyone else use necessarily, but he acted as if I really shouldn't understand what he was saying. Like, and he would just say them. So I'd say, like, what do you mean by that? And then he would say it again. And then I'd be like, but that didn't tell us what you meant. I don't know. I couldn't be that insufferable. I don't think I could live with myself. I don't know. I think the guy's got like some like outside of the debate, like obviously, not like an ad hom or anything like that. I genuinely am concerned about the way why he has to engage in debates like that.
Yeah, it's too bad. It would be nice to just to push him on the points, but I don't think you'd ever be in an environment where you could continuously ask him what he means by something, right?
Or even just let him go down something that wasn't his dialogue tree. He didn't want to get asked a question. Like, it's like, right, like, he's like, well, we can. I'm happy to ask questions after you answer all of mine. But it's like, he knows he's going to get triggered on something. Like, he already knows he's going to get triggered. He's going to be like, you're a fucking idiot, moron.
Well, and those people will never stop asking questions, right? Like, even if it's the same question that's already been answered, another question's coming.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, at no point would it ever be your turn.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and then you can end up either yelling over one another, and then you end up in that point when it's like, right, so this is not a dialogue. But I think that the fact that it is a monologue is kind of telling. I guess like I don't want to make, like, obviously, like, the whole monologue thing is like somewhat like the need for power and control, and then the need to monologue screams to me, not to sound like, to say it again, screams to me to be a psychological issue. I'm not going to say what, because I'm not going to psychoanalyze the guy on stream. Like, that was it was enough with the fascists. But like, it screams to me like he has an issue with needing for control, like a need for control, and like, because of that, like, it's like, do you need? And like, it's centered around God. It's like maybe it's so fundamental to his, like, you know, his engagement with reality and stuff. So maybe we shouldn't look at him like, oh, like he's like the worst person in the world. It might just be the way in which he manages to ground himself or something, which is fair enough. Like. And I'm not even trying to say that God doesn't exist. Like, that's the worst part. It's like, I just want to say that I don't think you can say God must exist. It doesn't mean you shouldn't believe in him anyway. Like, if you want to believe in God.
Do you really believe that? Like, it's just legitimate to believe in him?
Yeah, I think you can believe in God. I don't see any issues with that. I think if you believe in, like, a triumphant God, I was actually going to be debating rationality rules and cosmic skeptic on that. I was going to argue that it is rational that you to believe in a omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent creator.
Why? Like, do you think that we don't have like a parsimonious explanation without God's existence?
I think that in terms of, like, we can have an explanation without God's existence, but in terms of not in terms of you know, anything which would establish reality itself. I think that goes beyond anything that we can understand. It's whether we need one is another question. Like, do we need a belief on this? Is there a reason that we have to engage in this? And I don't think that we do, which is why I'm agnostic. But if we are going,
well, yeah, but wouldn't you say that's like an epistemic principle? Is that, you know, if an explanation isn't required, you do away with it?
If it isn't required, well, it's more of like it's
or
like
it adds nothing.
Well, this is the thing. I would actually agree. I don't think that you'd necessarily, like, it's the same thing with non-belief though. Like I would say that, like, the passivity of saying that there was no God. Like, I mean, if you're saying like, I don't believe in a God, that's like a non-positive claim. But if you're saying there is no God, I would say that's another positive claim. So I would say, like, in terms of it,
sure.
like,
No, I agree. But like, wouldn't you take the position that I don't believe there is a God is a better epistemic position than believing there is a God?
Well, what I want to say really is that it's not that I don't believe in a God. I don't think it's better epistemically. I think that it's the same. I think that I would say that I don't know if there is a God, or I don't believe that we can make knowledge claims about such things. Why are we talking about this? And it's more like this conversation is pointless rather than this conversation is meaningless, if you understand this, which is kind of like what was pointed out by the critique against Anthony Flew by, who wrote, was John Hick, and I can't remember who wrote The Parable of the Partisan and the Stranger, but it's The Parable of the Celestial City and The Parable of the Partisan and the Stranger, basically showing that it becomes something which is a spiritual community, and that spiritual community then, although based upon, a belief system which is fundamentally epistemically ungrounded, can have a meaningful conversation in relation to second order principles. So like, if God did exist, then X, like in terms of presupposed. But
how does this relate to your argument? Because you're not just talking about second order. You're talking about it's rational to believe he does exist.
Well, it's not like I would say like it's not rational to believe that he, like when it's like it depends on what we mean by believe. Like I would take that as like a point of faith. Do you know what I mean?
Or confidence.
Or confidence.
Right.
I would say that like
belief is fundamentally non-rational. Like I kind of get your point.
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally it's like it's almost like irrational, isn't it? Like it's not like it's rather it's not that the claim is like maybe non-rational as much as like irrational. Like we can understand the concept that is being expressed. It's just fundamentally not just like there is no conclusion that could be justified in relation, like the argument in its premises can be understood but the conclusion cannot, if you understand this. So like for example, when people talk about the ontological argument, or when people talk about the fine-tuning argument, they're I would say they're coherent, understandable arguments, but the conclusions from which the conclusions themselves cannot be reached. It's kind of like, so in terms of like, it's not that we would be rational to decide either way, if we so chose. It wouldn't be that we must decide to believe or not believe, or abstain from belief or not, because we are forced into that in terms of judgment in reality. So when and I think this was Pascal's point, like you are going to have to take the gamble or not, in the sense that your life is either going to be spiritual or non-spiritual. And so giving that distinction in the law of the excluded middle there, do you choose to act as if it is the case and hold faith, or do you choose to disbelieve? And I think that either position.
I never took Pascal's point to be epistemic, right? Like he made the point that you're better off, right? Like in terms of your values, you'd be better off in a belief in God.
Yeah, he did, but he was obviously, but in his point was foundationally epistemic. From what I've understood, I actually got sent a video by this. I think it was Magnus who sent us it, and it was by like a guy who does lectures on Hegel, funnily enough, who sent it. And it was I think the point that he's essentially getting at is I think the point that essentially he's getting at is that epistemically there is how we are going to live our lives. We are either going to place the bet or not, and that's something that is unavoidable in terms of it's an ethical position rather. So it's like this is that's it.
Everything's ethics.
I do think everything's ethics. I do think everything's ethics. I think ethics is everywhere, man. But yeah, I think he's making an ethical point. Like we are either going to choose between the existence of God and non-existence of God, and the reason that he brings in probabilities and like values is because it's an ethical point. And so it's like it's the same thing. I think with I think it's the same point I would make. It just so happens that I don't believe that his value point, like his principles, in terms of value, held up. Like you could not believe in God and then live towards the good life, if you would argue for such a thing, like I would, obviously, being a moral realist, and you would, the God being good, you would live by the same standards, and so you could do that in a secular way and not having to take a gamble at all. So I would dismiss that point, but I would say that you have to live in terms of spiritualism, as if it is or is not the case. And whatever side you like, you fall on, I don't think that you've made an epistemic mistake.
Oh, well, I think we're going to have to disagree on that point.
Oh, really? So do you think that you could establish like a foundation, like why we should disbelieve?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should disbelieve anything that essentially we can do without either pragmatically or through probabilistically increasing means of justification.
But then,
right?
But it's
we're not going to go off of systems of guessing.
I would agree, but then we can't know that something is not the case either. So that it's like the burden.
No, but I never. You said disbelieve or
oh
not
right, yeah,
believe.
okay, yeah. But I think I would say with not believe, in terms of action, I think this is the point that Darth Dawkins tries to make, poorly. Look, you're either going to live the Christian life or not, right? And so there is an implicit judgment in your action of whether you have faith in the Christian God or not. It's not an epistemological point, but rather one that is ethically founded. And so, this is kind of the point I'd say. If you took a disbelief position, I don't believe in God. I don't know if there is a God, which I think would be fair enough. An agnosticism, you're going to be forced into an agnostic theism or atheism in how you live your life ethically. Are you going to live it as if it's as if God is or is not real in terms of how you will engage with others? And
yeah, but sure. But if we talk about this categorically, if we talk about everything that we just don't happen to believe in, right? And we're going to act as if all of them are the case, that's an impossible life to live.
I agree, but I think that the separation would be it wouldn't be that not everything that we don't happen to believe in, but anything that, could be or goes beyond the point of being proven true or false in principle,
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, you can add any amount of judgmental, invisible, undetectable beings or particles or things that have causal effects that just haven't happened yet. And you can try and work around those invisible things that you don't happen to believe in, or you can live your life as if they're not there.
Well, I would agree. I would agree with that. I would agree. So if you could say well, what about this? That's exactly what Anthony Fluid is, isn't he? He's like, well, what if there was the parable of the gardener? It's two people come across. Do you know the parable of the gardener?
No.
Oh right. So it's actually, I love the parable of the gardener. It's a lovely little thing. So Anthony Flew basically says two people come across a patch of land in the middle of a jungle, and it looks really well tamed. As in, it looks as if there was somebody who was, planting all the plants, keeping them cut and everything, and so on. And so there are two people, and one says that there is a gardener, must be, because of the way this looks, must be keeping this garden. And the other says, there is no gardener, this has happened, this coincidentally. And so they sit out and they try and detect, see if they can see the gardener. And they don't see the gardener. And then, so the guy goes, no, the gardener is invisible. And so they let out, so they set up traps. None of the traps are triggered. And he goes, no, it's intangible. And they go, why can't we hear him? It's inaudible. And he says, God dies the death of 1,000 qualifications. Right?
Okay.
And
I've heard that quote before. I didn't know that's where it was from.
Yeah. And I think it's a really nice little parable, basically showing that, essentially, his argument is that it's pointless to talk about whether there is a gardener or not. It's I can't disprove that there is a gardener, but then there's no need for us to talk as if there was. So it's a pragmatic point. It's pointless to talk about God, not meaningless. It's oh yeah, there very well might be a gardener, but I don't really give a shit, and I think that's an argument that could be made. Obviously there's the Pascal point, but I think that can be defeated through a secular version of ethics, But if you think that, but some people make like points about ethics that in relation to God, but then I think ultimately as well, you could talk about the pragmatics of living for example, a quote unquote Christian life or a spiritual life. I think that the engagement with infinites is useful and pragmatic. And so I would probably make that point and say that the individual who engages, with the conception of a God, an omnibenevolent, omniscient, omnipotent God, may find themselves living a more spiritually fulfilling life, whether they are atheist or agnostic, whether they're atheist or theistic on that point maybe, but then so that's kind of the position I would make.
I don't know. I can't get down to like the pragmatic points that just come down to, is my life better by believing this?
Well, that's the thing.
But I mean, that's just going to come from my position of not valuing that.
I know, that's the thing. We need another debate on ethics, man. I heard you you might be talking to vegan gays or something.
Well, I came by the server where she was on a stream, and then she left, and then I caught the end of her stream, and she was like, "Oh, he seems like a debate me, bro. What's the point?" And other reasons not to debate me as usual.
Well, to be fair, I think I had her on the stream as like a layperson in philosophy. You, my friend, are certainly not a layperson in philosophy. It's just like you just like it's just nasty at that point.
But I'm usually good at explaining things in fairly simple terms. I don't know.
Well, I think we need another debate. That's what we need. Me and you. Once again, third time's the charm.
You're going to have to convince me of free will. This is where you got to come down.
Okay, that's cool, because I think my argument for free will has gotten better.
Okay.
But I don't know whether I don't know whether I'll be able to convince you. We'll see. Did you watch me determinism debunk video?
I think only the beginning.
God damn it, Chad.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't want all hours of all content.
What do you mean you don't watch me 5-hour debates? What are you talking about?
Apologies. I know that's really how I should be devoting my time.
God, people, this is the thing, everyone. People having lives and shit, right? God. Disgusting.
And now since, I assume that you read all my articles and have watched all my videos, I can quiz you on anything.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Of course, I'll have to remain agnostic on all of the points, and the meaning of the words. So,
okay.
But
in that case, I forgot, but I
yeah, man,
it slipped my mind.
I both did and did not watch the stream. Unfortunately, I disbelieve that there is a God. So, it's very. I may have seen the stream. I may not have seen the stream. Unfortunately, this world is fundamentally absurd. No, man. Honestly,
Right.
I'm not even sure.
I'm gonna head off.
Yeah, no problem, man. Oh, but let us know if you are game for a debate, and we can get into it again. That'd be cool. And thanks for coming on, Shadow. Have a nice night. That.
You too. Bye.
Take it easy, mate. Bye. Right. Yeah, the green screen is unfortunately I cannot resolve this. See, look, I can make it green again. Ruse has donated and says, "Are you familiar with Adviata. I can't say that. Was that ad? Oh my god, I'm never going to be able to say that. I'm going to have to Google how to pronounce that and then have it play through. That's what I'll do.
Advaita Vedanta.
I am not familiar with that. So I really can't give you any thoughts on it, but I know someone who is, and I can have them on if you're interested in. Would anyone be interested in talking to someone about Hindu philosophy? I know very little about Hindu philosophy, so yeah, I'll have to get my friend Dave on here. Got to go now, but was a great first stream to catch. Take care, man. Thank you very much. Part of the Green Lantern Corps, man. Absolutely. Powered by the will. It's all in the continental philosophy. It's all coming together now. So I'm going to go off in the next 10 minutes, guys. So if you have a question, please drop it in the chat. Yeah, I'll get Dave on to do Hindu philosophy. I'll ask him, actually. I'll ask him right now. The man knows a disgusting amount of Hindu philosophy, since I know none of it. I want to point that out. I know Buddhist philosophy. I can get some Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist ethics, but yeah. Anything that's like other than that in the Eastern tradition, yeah, no, very low. Ruse donated at the end and said, yeah, that'd be awesome. As a layperson, when you talk about Hegel, it sounds similar to the positions espoused. That's exactly what Dave not criticizes, but says to us, and argues that Hegel might have been influenced by Hindu philosophy because it had only recently been translated to German at the time Hegel was writing. So Hegel would have probably have read Hindu philosophy and argues, and he thinks they might have been influenced because of the similarity between the positions. So yeah, very possibly, man. I'm a little bit into Deleuze. I need to read more of Deleuze. Do I think that normative ethics are worth discussion? Absolutely. It's not that we should be more concerned with meta-ethics. I think that we should be concerned with ethics as a whole, meta, normative, and applied, in terms of how we live our lives. The issue is that without meta-ethics, we don't really know what we're talking about. So I just think that it's the fact that people are willing to talk past the meta. That's the issue. That's the issue I have a real issue. That's what I have a real issue with. All religions have useful texts on how to obtain objective truth, and most are super insightful. There you go. Indians wrote this. I wrote this. I think I would be a bit hard to say that he stole it that bad, but like I think he might have been influenced by it. Like, he's got some really, like, because when I was talking to Dave about it, like it's probably because of the monistic worldview. So yeah. Yeah, universities, universities teach like a variety of philosophies, but then I think that it depends on what university you go to. And like in the Anglo-American tradition versus in the continental tradition, they're going to teach mostly Western philosophy. But you'll get like specific philosophy lecturers who specialize. I was taught Buddhism from a professor who specialized in Buddhism. The Maverick says eternal being equals concept, consciousness equals concept, bliss equals concept. Actually, I think Hegel might argue against that. I'll have to get the science of logic up again. I can't remember how he... no, he might actually agree that it's a concept. It depends on how we define concept. I would define concept as a specific mental ability, and a word as a concept which could be expressed intelligibly through language. So yeah. Or an idea as a concept that could be expressed intelligibly through language. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I can answer that one for you, Everett. I don't think I'm actually gonna try. So, yeah. Yeah, the Bodhisattvas and the Celestial Buddhas is weird. I don't understand it fully myself. It's like a certain level of like spiritual attainment, and then it's like metaphysical consequences. I think it's like in terms of like the Bodhisattvas are basically like the highest level of enlightenment or like the removal of self, on an almost an individualist level. But it's like the kind of I don't know, they kind of like almost become I don't know, man. It just like, this is something I'd have to talk to a Buddhist about. I was actually got a Buddhist reached out to us, so that's a I'm gonna have to ask them. I'm gonna have to ask them that. I hope we don't presuppose that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll have to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Hegel. What is most financially beneficial for you? Twitch donations, YouTube, or Patreon? Streamlabs, PayPal. They don't take any from it. But if you're asking like Twitch donations, YouTube, or I don't get Twitch, so don't donate through Twitch unless it's like the Streamlabs donation. YouTube take a percentage, and so do Patreon. So Patreon is kind of cool because it like lets us kind of prepare for the money that I'm gonna have. So it means like it's kind of like a steady stream of income, which means I can like plan ahead, and so that's pretty cool, and that's probably the most beneficial part about it. And like, so like the next thing is probably get rid of the green screen, if I'm honest. I think the green screen is kind of annoying, mainly because I'm sat so close to it and I can't really move away. So the plan really, get rid of that and establish a nice background for everyone. I think that sounds nice, doesn't it, guys? Like a nicer background, like maybe some like LEDs, you know, we'll just go full RGB, everything will be in a disco, you know. But like, no, seriously, I think definitely like a nicer background. Oh, what's up, Vegan Foot Soldier? How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. What's up? Just finished catching up on the start of the stream with Darth. Pretty funny. He's still making technical fallacy in all his argumentation, though. He's I think just he needs to presuppose the existence of God for everything, but then he argues that I need knowledge of the absolute, and then he himself could not have knowledge. I don't know why. It's terrible. It's terrible. Getting rid of my vegan aura. I know, it's so green, and I feel like be enriched. We still need a debate, Foot Soldier. Still need a debate, man. Get a grey screen. Oh, the grey screen's better. I want to get Chomsky on the show. That's what I want to get. I want to see if I can get... Thank you, Ben Green. I really appreciate it. But I want to get Chomsky on the show. I want to 100% get Chomsky on the show if I can, because I want to know why he thinks veganism is not necessary. Like, I want to debate Chomsky on veganism. That's what I want to do. We're gonna get Noam Chomsky on. I'm gonna debate Chomsky. I reached out actually to Slavoj Žižek in hopes of talking about veganism to Slavoj Žižek. I will keep trying, guys. I will one day get Slavoj Žižek on this show and talk animal liberation with him. So help me God, I will do it. What's the difference between the naturalistic fallacy and the Izod problem? They're incredibly similar, actually. The naturalistic fallacy was based on the Izod problem and it's basically the development of the Izod problem by G.E. Moore. So it's literally just G.E. Moore adding on to Hume, and it's basically that a descriptive, like the difference between the naturalistic fallacy and the Izod problem is essentially whether it relates to nature or whether it relates to a purely descriptive case. That'll be the difference. Yeah, Chomsky is 92 years old, and he still should go vegan. Okay, so I'm still gonna argue that. Who would be my dream guest? Probably Slavoj Žižek. I will one day get Slavoj Žižek on this goddamn stream, and we will have a discussion on politics and veganism. And if I don't make Slavoj Žižek vegan, right, I'm gonna be really, really sad. I know that was degenerates. You'll turn into monkeys. I know that was like it's Slavoj being like funny though, isn't it? Like he's typical, like taking the piss. Mosquitoes though, is that what Chomsky says? But it's like, but the thing is, why would he dismiss philosophy when he himself not only is a philosopher, but when he talks about organization, it's like, how should we organize? Is a philosophical fucking problem. But 0 animals or species die from cow milk production. No, like 100% they do. Like cows, like I don't know if you know this, the Maverick, but to produce a cow, and make a cow lactate, essentially, they need to be pregnant. Okay? For a cow to be pregnant, it's usually artificially inseminated, like, forcefully impregnated. And then, if it's born male, well, that male calf, if it's born male or female, they have to remove it from the mother, first of all, because otherwise it's going to drink the milk that you want. So they have to separate the calf from the cow, which essentially hurts the cow, frustrates them. They'll have a maternal bond that a lot of them actually want to stay together. But even some that don't, let's say, I think the calf usually does anyway. But the even if the cow isn't like that bothered, it's still then usually that bottle fed and sustained regardless. And then if they're male, they're killed either at birth or 6 months later for veal, or if they're females, they're raised to become dairy cows. Now, here's the thing, because it's dairy industry, because it's capital, right? And even if it wasn't, there is a scarcity of resources. So they produce cows, and they can't do it ad infinitum and sustain them. So that means that, like, if you have cows that aren't producing milk, they are a cost. They will prevent you from profiting as a business. And even if it wasn't a business, you just can't feed an infinite number of cows. And so the more cows you birth, because they become spent after like about 5 years, they're incapable of producing milk, from what I'm aware, or not as efficiently at producing milk. When they would live to 25 years, otherwise, there is about 20 years where it's not profitable to keep that cow. And so the cow is sent to slaughter. They're not going to keep a cow for 20 years, okay? And that like, essentially, imagine like having to do this for every generation of cow. So every 5 years, there is another generation of cow and another generation of cow, and having to sustain that ad infinitum. There is a problem with scarcity. It just wouldn't work. So even if you weren't killing the animals, the business would become unsustainable. And if you do kill the animals, it is fundamentally unethical. And obviously then there's also the points of how they are treated, and the reason that we are birthing them in the first place is to use them as a means to an end, which is a lack of consideration of their ethical patienthood. So, yeah, that's essentially what I would say about that, Maverick. Animals do die from milk production, 100%. And even in terms of like the alternatives, take like almond milk or whatever it is, there isn't a single alternative that is more crop intensive than animal agriculture. And if you're saying that the whole crop death thing, like, animals die from crop harvesting, essentially you need to feed crops to animals to then consume the animals and that byproducts. It's what's called the Trophic Pyramid. Energy cannot be perfectly transferred. So so what we have is essentially more and more crops that need to be produced to consume animals or their products. So you always need more crops to feed animals to then feed humans. It'd be more beneficial to feed humans plants, and it would actually cut down on crop deaths. So yeah, I hope that answers that, the Maverick. Yeah, you've got to have the law of thermodynamics in there, really, haven't you? It only makes sense if. Yeah, and there certainly is more to the morality than just killing them. Reach out to Aaron Bastani from Novara Media. He recognized that we need to change our relationship with animals, but sees that we can't quite bridge to veganism yet. All right, yeah, absolutely. Who's that guy? Aaron Bastani. Yeah, I'll have a... Aaron Bastani. PhD. I'm not sure what in. But yeah, I'll 100% engage with them. I'll see if I'll reach out. What can I say to people that dismiss philosophers because they are not scientists or make scientific claims? Ask them to justify science, because then they have to make a philosophical claim. So, if yeah, that's basically it. Careful of PhDs, might just be a good bunch of gobbledygook. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You don't wanna, go down the mumbo jumbo route, man. Like, okay, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this stream. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon. I hope you're enjoying, or hope you've enjoyed the conversation between me, Cosmic Skeptic, and Rationality Rules on Name the Trait, veganism, and so on. It will be up on there for a while before I make it public. And if it ever goes on the channel, it might never go on the channel. It might end up going on Cosmic Skeptic's channel. So I'll have to talk to him about that. Depends on whether he wants that. So yeah, actually, so thank you all for watching, and thank you to Ethan Pollitt, Jeezy Ziggy. I'm genuinely not sure how to pronounce that name. I'm very sorry. It is not in English, and that's not even the English alphabet. And Kamara as well. Oh no, is it Kamara? No, sorry, no, not Kamara. Sorry, Kamara. You don't get credit. Right, but thank you all for supporting the channel. Really means a lot. And thank you everyone who donates and helps support this. And I hope you recognize the increased camera quality. And it's like, we're getting there. Just wait until there's some RGB lights. So, I hope you've all enjoyed this stream. If you'd like to give it a thumbs up. And as always,